Even my mom, till the last year, she used to say, "You're an acupuncture therapist." And I'm like, no. Was we were ranting and cribbing about our class representative.
And she told me whatever you just said is full bullshit.
Hi, I'm Abhijit. I'm the co-founder of Kanya. Today I have the OT tribe with me. Could you guys take a moment to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hello, everybody. This is Nikita Gupta,
Malvankar. I'm Karan Jain.
and we are the interns at St. James Medical College and KEM Hospital.
Thank you so much, Abhijit sir, for this great opportunity. And it is actually a great platform for us to share our views about our profession, which is not that much known to everybody.
Okay. So I think that's a nice initiative by your side also to call doctors and give a podcast, take their daily life review about us.
This is actually like first time a clothing brand, something like a scrub, is calling some people from occupational therapy department to come here and speak on a platform like this.
So could you take a moment to tell us what is occupational therapy?
So basically, occupational therapy is an allied health science. So we deal with psychosomatic disorders, the psychological disorders, developmental disabilities, and we kind of use daily activities or everyday activities into a therapeutic way, and we treat the ailments.
So in order to like explain that more, I'll give you an example of an injured person. So if that person is injured, we won't just work on their motor skills. We will also add on to their daily life activities if they're able to do it. So can we modify that activity to make their house more accessible to them, their workplace more accessible to them? We actually use a lot of programs like worksite evaluation. If we change this particular chair or this particular table for that person, is he going to be more better and independent in that particular activity? So we work on that basis also. We even teach the patients how to safely transfer from a wheelchair to a bed. Then if there is a housewife who's not able to cook because of whatever injury she has, we also modify and give them splint age adapter devices in order to work in that sense also.
How did you all and why did you all pick occupation?
Honestly, I didn't know about occupational therapy in my 11th, 12th when I was appearing for NEET. I was more interested in vet, that is veterinary science. I used to treat stray dogs, animals, which I still do, but it was all for, social cause. And I used to love animals, like still love, that's definitely there. But I couldn't get into vet. So, and with the marks which I had, I only had option with, I think, physiotherapy and occupational therapy. And I was thinking that I should go for occupational therapy. And honestly, after taking it, I think I don't regret my choices for the profession I have chosen.
Like three of us have an entirely different story to what and why we took OT. I was actually intrigued about OT. Since the start of NEET, I knew that I am going for OT. I knew about it because of my family doctor. So I knew what I wanted to go, but these two were like, he wanted to go into MBBS like everybody else. And he was too much into dogs. So he was like, I don't think vet only.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit different. Like, it was not like Karan. Definitely, it was not like Karan. So, for the first try, I gave 2 attempts for NEET. For the first try, I couldn't get what I wanted basically. For the second try, I was pretty much clear what I don't want. Like, I was not going to opt for BDS, that is dentistry, and Ayurveda or physiotherapy for that matter. So I was left with occupational therapy, and I knew about occupational therapy because I had a center of occupational therapy near my household. So I could see there, I went there, I saw what is actually being done there, how it is managed, how it is run. And that's what, made an interest. It developed an interest in me. And eventually I searched a little bit and I was like, yeah, good to go.
If I had to ask you, any one of you, to name a particular incident, do not mention the patient for confidentiality reasons, but tell us about the experience. What impact did you have as an occupational therapist and how it changed your perspective of the occupation?
It's a very recent incident. I feel, I guess 1 day or 2 days prior. So where I work in the institution, I have a bilateral lower limb above knee amputation patient. And my seniors and the other doctors, they were more into like make him stand, make him do some exercises. And I was like, yes, okay, we are working on that also. But he could use the wheelchair. He's very young. He's 29 and he has good strength, fantastic strength in his upper limb. but both the limbs, the lower limbs are not there because of amputation. So he could maneuver the wheelchair very nicely, fantastically. I just gave him one visual demonstration, and he picked it up, and he was very comfortable with the wheelchair. The only problem was the transfer from the bed to the wheelchair. So for that, what was required is his mom or his dad used to lift him up, or you should take him up and then slowly make him sit on the wheelchair. And he was like कि कब तक मेरे मम्मी पापा मुझे हेल्प करेंगे, आप कुछ कर सकते हैं क्या? And I slowly thought about it, and I got a transfer board, and I did that, and he was really very happy with that. कि डॉक्टर साहब आपने बहुत बड़ा काम कर दिया, मतलब मेरी मम्मी को अभी मतलब मुझे उठाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, मैं अकेले कर पाऊँगा. So slowly this morning what I saw was he was waiting for me to greet me on the stairs, near the stairs basically. So I went there and he was like, good morning डॉक्टर साहब. I was like, अरे ये कैसे किया? तो I was like, आपने जो टेक्निक बताया था ना, वो मैंने 1-2 बार प्रैक्टिस किया था, और आज मम्मी थी सुबह सुबह, तो she was supervising me and I did that, and it was really, I also felt really very emotional that time कि he has learned something and which will help him throughout his life.
When that is one magic about occupational therapy, that we use everything in your house present already. You don't have to buy something. We can make anything from scratch for you to be independent. You don't need always this, big machines and stuff like that.
Amazing. I think they say, right, the real mother of innovation is necessity. And necessity is the mother of innovation, right? So incredible. So what advice would you give to budding occupational therapists, right, who are looking to kind of go down this path?
One thing I would like to say that we know that you don't know much about occupational therapy, even we then. But the minute you know that you're going to be graduating, that is when you actually know that you have to do something. And the minute you start trying, you yourself figure out ways. You don't have to know everything to be out there and actually try something. There is magic that happens. And you just have to keep trying and keep doing it.
So just spend a little bit more time with your profession. Try to gel up. Yeah, with your patient. Try to gel up. Try to explore a lot of things. Try to get out of your comfort zone. And slowly you'll find your way out. Definitely.
I will like to add on, if any relative asks you what is occupational therapy, don't tell them it's physiotherapy. They will get stuck to it for throughout their life. Change them every time they ask, correct them, and also don't get that inferiority complex, insecurity that no one knows your profession. I will like to say that they maybe don't know, but you do something that will make them know you.
Even my mom, till the last year, she used to say, you're an acupuncture therapist. And I'm like, no, this is what I do. And slowly now I have hammered her a lot. Now she says, yes, he is an occupational therapist, not a physio, not an acupuncture, nothing like that.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing this. Why do you think friendship is very important in college years and probably the years that you guys are spending?
I feel it's a necessity to have friends in medical field for sure. Like definitely you should have at least one person whom you can go rant about, chill out, everything. So I will give my example. So in first year, due to the infectious diseases around me and I used to not eat well, I had got a illness and I had got ill. So I used to not come to college, and we have a compulsory attendance rule. If we don't have that much attendance, we won't be allowed to give university, and I did not want to waste my 1 year of life. So I asked Nikita and Sunit to do proxy. Again, the CR didn't allow, but they somehow managed to put the proxy. So I think that's one of the example. Another is that after even coming back to the college, I used to be sleepy half of the times. I used to sleep around, and our professor used to take an impromptu viva or a questions. So he used to ask anyone randomly, and if I got caught, so these were the people who used to prompt around the answers for me. And as I am always a last moment study person every time, so every time before university is only they say me every time before the exams, they give me IMPs, they explain me everything. I used to study one time though I was studying a wrong subject day before exam, so they corrected me.
Okay, that is very Karan, okay?
I would want to add something here. We have also seen people who don't have friends around in college. And we have seen them changing from a very cheerful person on the day one of college to being alone and depressed by the end of it. So I think if they would have more friends around them, they would be, compelled towards doing what they have to. I remember my exam time when I used to be like, guys, I can't do this. I used to like just sleep knowing that I'm gonna fail tomorrow. And these guys used to literally wake me up from, sleep. You have to do and you have to study. And we have also excelled in our subjects. Just be together. That's the only difference we have from the others, that we were doing everything together is what gave us the power to, do better in our studies.
I guess everybody in this room will definitely agree it is a very taxing profession. And the course is too long, 4.5 for us, and for MBBS student it is 5.5 to 6, I guess. It is very taxing. And we, as humans, we are social animals. So we need somebody to have a company where we can share our views, our thoughts, or maybe our sadness, our sorrows, whatever it is. So we mostly spend our time in college. At least 8 hours to 10 hours goes in college. So we need someone, a friend, of course, or maybe someone else, where you can chat with them and you can get your thoughts clear. You need that person.
So could you tell us a memorable Viva story?
I will say that it's my first year. It's memorable because it was from us. Okay. It was my first year of medical college, and everybody told us, it's very difficult. You have to do good. So we were in college for 12 hours that day, and we were practicing all the, we do muscle power testing. So we were practicing each and every muscle, that possibly we could, like literally doing it on each other hand and stuff like that. And let's then go with full confidence, I'm going to excel at tomorrow, like that way. And I entered the room and the teacher who was sitting there was a little ruder than what I anticipated. And I started with my answer, and I knew that whatever I'm saying is absolutely correct, because this is where I know what I'm going to be correct. And she told me, whatever you just said is full bullshit. And I was like, what? And that is when I was wanting to cry, but then I was like, okay, whatever you said was correct. I nodded and I waited for her, and then I started with another answer. She told me it's again a full bullshit. And this time I knew I was 110% correct. And I had to tell her that, this is what I've read from the book. And the other teacher was an extra from some other college. Okay, so she told me, who told you to read it from this book? Don't you trust your teachers?
So I feel like she had a lot of courage to go and, go all out on the examiner, because what our seniors had told, if you don't know an answer, just say sorry, not sorry. Never argue with your examiner, never, because they have the power to fail or pass you. But she did that. That was a lot courageous.
So I told her, I've read this from this book, and she was like, why did you read it from the book? Don't you trust your teachers? And I had no answer to that. And then after that, she kept asking me questions and questions. And I was literally, thrown into pieces. I could not answer anything. I came out of the bus and did not cry till then.
You cried?
I cried later when I was in the classroom.
She cried a lot.
My teacher asked me, what happened? You said you were really happy when you were entering. So I told her this is, I told her, and then she told me, it's not correct. And she told me, if you know this is for sure correct. You want me to go inside, and do you want to go inside in the book? I was like, I don't think so. I have the courage to do that again, because literally I had a very bad moment. But she took the stand for myself, and she took the book inside, and I was caught inside the Bible again, and they just looked at me, nodded, and increased my marks and told me to get out.
I guess that's the most memorable Viva story for all of us, because all the three were equally involved.
Because we were like, we are going to fail, definitely. You are challenging the examiner, you're hurting their ego. You should not do that.
But after I came back, I told them, do not say what I said inside, even though it's 100% correct. Just say, and then this one told me, you were not supposed to say the correct answer. You're just supposed to say sorry.
No, amazing. I think what you shared, that I think there's such a gap today in the infrastructure in India, and rather more about awareness on how the gap can be bridged from people who have disabilities to kind of rehabilitate their life and something.
True.
Yeah. Right? Could you guys, all of you, one of you, share a particular example of a patient or experience that you've come across that has moved you in occupational therapy, and a little bit more about the patient, the experience, and kind of how you kind of solved it and how it made you a better occupational therapist?
I guess she has a very favorite or a very famous line which she always uses to explain anybody who asks about our profession. So what is that?
So generally, every time when you are an occupational therapist or for that matter, physiotherapist, there you know, always have these people coming up to you. What do you exactly do? They keep coming to us and they ask us questions. So I always explain them by giving this example that if there is a patient and a physiotherapist, teach them how to walk. As an occupational therapist, it's our job to teach them how to walk with their hands on. So this is how I like to distinguish physical therapy and occupational therapy. And about the recent event or something like that. So I believe a lot of people who are disabled or they're not able to rehabilitate. They don't really understand that they can be rehabilitated. So for that extent of understanding that ये भी हो सकता है, they're never really went to a doctor to actually understand कि ये भी possibilities है. And as an occupational therapist, we actually see that gap. So one of my patients that I'm seeing recently, he is been taking, help with his wife for transferring. So all this while he was taking help only because there was this one plastic thing that was coming from his wheelchair to bed. And all that I simply did, because I knew this is going to come in between, because we have learned transfers, just removing that plastic, it was like a stencil, which was giving a shape to the wheelchair. It was on both sides, so we could just remove it from the bedside. And now he's transferring by himself. We definitely did a lot of training with the transfer and all. But as simple as removing a part of a wheelchair could make him independent. He did not have to wait 2 hours on his wheelchair to somebody come and transfer him. That is the kind of gap. People don't understand that they can go to a doctor and solve. And that was actually it's not their fault either. We don't really have a lot of rehabilitative specialists outside. So maybe that's the reason.
So I guess that is our main focus. So as an occupational therapist, where we stand out is the independence factor. So we want to decrease the caregiver burden. We want to make the client independent as much as possible, so that he can perform whatever he needs. Let it be daily activities like bathing, grooming. So for us, bathing is very easy. We just go to take a shower. But for the hemiplegic, basically a stroke patient, or even a geriatric patient, who is very old, for them it becomes really a task. They require a lot of energy for that. So simple activities like energy conservation, then as Nikita spoke, modification, we teach them about these techniques and slowly how to accommodate their lives with these techniques, some changes, some techniques, something like that. And slowly when they become independent, that is actually where the magic happens. So they themselves gain a lot of confidence कि हाँ, we can do this. हाँ, मुझे इस काम के लिए किसी की जरूरत नहीं है. I am independent. I will be able to do this.
It's interesting you mentioned geriatric, right? So I think there's been a lot of focus in India on senior citizen living and senior citizen care.
Yeah.
Right. And I believe India is a little bit behind in terms of Western countries in terms of taking care of our senior citizens.
Yeah.
Right? What I understand is that occupational therapists have a very important part to play in senior citizen care.
Yeah.
Right. Where do you see the role of occupational therapy and senior citizen care evolving in the next decade or two?
It's definitely going to be a huge thing in future, not just in geriatric patients, but in general, occupational therapy is having a lot of scope in future. So if you talk about the geriatric patients, we have been seeing so many cases with, fall in a washroom, because they, stuck to a door or something like that. So teaching them the safe maneuvering within their house, teaching them the simplest thing like removing the carpet when you're alone in arms is something that occupational therapists do. So in all of these, techniques wherein joint protection, then energy conservation, teaching them when you have to just sit down when you're taking a shower instead of standing up is the basic thing that we teach.
Yeah.
So this is how an occupational therapist make difference, and there is going to be a lot more thing coming up in future which will, increase occupational therapy.
I think the future plan will be where, we can see coming, like the geriatric population will be with less comorbidities. Like they already have a lot of degenerative changes due to aging and everything. But I feel that if we can prevent their fall, which already hampers with their healing and everything due to age, it leads to many fractures, but a simple modification can help them. So geriatric population, if we see in our railway stations right now, simple example, first we didn't have any lift escalators for a population to climb, a geriatric population to climb up the subways and cross the stations platforms. But now we have escalators platforms, and that can avoid a lot of knee damage, because just walking a lot or having a lot of heavy luggage with us and walking up the stairs, then the geriatric population are like, yeah, we can do because we have that experience, everything, but they don't know where it's wearing and tearing their health. But now I feel the escalators, lifts are make it easy. But I see like, yeah, so more up will be coming, I think, some further things.
Occupational therapy is already working with, bigger industries like furniture making. And then they're working with also, with home designing and stuff, because in order to establish that in future, I think we're already working in it. So we just need more manpower, for which we need more people to know about occupational therapy.
So somewhere, I just like to add one small point. When we compare, the Western world and India, there is a small change in the mindset. They actually are more independent. But यहाँ पे कैसे होता है कि okay, I have my children and I have my grandchildren who will look after me. So that mindset is also somewhere, where it comes, where it
Hampers
the basic, it becomes a barrier. So we need to work on that also. And I feel that nowadays, this generation, our generation, or maybe a generation just ahead of us, they are not ready to accept this कि हाँ हमारे बेटे देखेंगे हमें या हमारे पोते देखेंगे हमें. They are with a different mindset that okay, I have a life and I would like to lead it the way I want.
want to independently. Yeah.